Hey guys. Yeah, I'll just let me sync up the quad, but yeah, just chill for a few minutes while we get started. Yeah, just chill for a few minutes, guys, while people funnel in as usual. Any questions, you guys can type it in for the time being. Lighting looks okay. Yep. Yeah, you got to turn GRP. You got to turn backswing and downswing. You got to turn. Hey, Jason. We'll answer your question as soon as we start in a few minutes while we let people funnel in. But we'll get to that. Excited to see what we are gonna do with you, Jason. It will be really, really good. Yeah, we'll talk about the chipping technique later as well. When we start in a few minutes. Yeah, this is a sim setup at the house, Jason. Bought a house to put a sim into it. I was perfectly happy living in a condo. But for the sake of trying to grow my brand and business the way I want with the filming and stuff, so I decided to buy a house and put the sim in. It was hard to find a house actually with high enough ceilings, but I found this house, which was pretty open concept, 17-foot high ceilings. So you can see, like Jason, it's pretty high up the ceilings. So it gave me a lot of choices to build this sim in this room. So really happy that it worked out. Yeah, we'll start in a minute, guys. So any questions, feel free to toss it in. We will start in a minute. Yeah, thanks, Jason. Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's been pretty good, especially with the lockdown. Much easier to film videos for the YouTube channel and the videos for the online academy. So really happy with that. All right, this may be a short one here today. Not too much people in here, so we'll see what happens today. We'll go with the flow. So I'll start this in 30 seconds, and then we'll see what happens today, guys. So yeah, any questions, feel free to ask it, and then I'll get to it. I've been able to get to everyone's questions before we wrap it up, so it's been pretty good so far. So don't be shy. All right, so Jason, your question is about to start lessons with me online. What do you think a very dedicated student could drop in handicap if they are starting near 100 within 1 year of practicing coaching on average? If you're shooting 100s right now and you're dedicated to practicing and taking lessons, I don't really like over promising, but I would like to say you could break 90 no problem within a year. But again, I don't like over promising and under delivering. But 90 should be like easy, like pretty much guaranteed. If you're shooting 100 right now, it should like pretty much be a guarantee if you practice and follow the coaching as is. I don't see why not you wouldn't be able to shoot in the 80s. Is like from 100 to 80 is quite easy relative to trying to go from 80 to 70 or even like 85 to 75. But we'll build a good base up, especially like since you're at this level now. We'll build a very good base out with your swing, so it's technically sound. So eventually, when you put more time into it, year 2, year 3, year 4 is not going to be the swing that holds you back from shooting better scores. But just whether or not you have the time to continue to practice, continue to play. It's going to be short game stuff, but one of my goals I have with all my clients is it's never going to be the swing that holds them back from shooting better scores. It's whether or not they have the time to put into golf, whether they have the time to put into their putting and chipping, but it's never going to be a ball striking issue that holds them back from shooting better scores. So that's going to be our plan. GRP, chipping technique. What I like for most people for chipping technique, let me just angle this down a little bit. So for chipping technique, as a stock, here it is. As a stock guideline for chipping technique, again, player dependent, but I think for most people, this will help. I like them feeling like they stay pretty even 50-50 in terms of weight distribution. So I don't like leaning onto the left foot too much. I don't like leaning onto the back foot too much. I like roughly 50-50. When you set up, stock shot, ball roughly in the middle-ish, and you can see I have a straight line from my lead shoulder down my hands, down the club, down the shaft. I don't like too much shaft lean because if you have too much shaft lean, the leading edge comes into play. So I like feeling like you maintain a straight line through the entire chip. The bigger the chip, the more the club is going to hinge up, but that's not going to be the intent. For most players, feeling low at no hinge is still going to hinge up a bit, but because the feeling is to maintain a straight line, the hinge unhinges and you return to that straight line where we only have a little bit of shaft lean, where the leading edge will not be lower to the ground so that bounce is in play. So if you try to do that, try to maintain a straight line, really your misses become a lot better because you won't chunk it if you do so. All you do is maintain a straight line. All you do is turn and turn, and you can see backswing, downswing, feeling like it's the same size, same speed, and just and as you do this, just feeling how the bottom of the club, the bounce of the club engages with the ground and not the leading edge. Okay, so that's how you want to try to. That's my preference for chipping. Just turn and turn with no hinge, and also feeling like you hit the ground or try to hit the ground 1 inch before the ball. That's gonna be my preference. Mark, we'll be signing up for my online academy next week. Great. Looking forward to seeing your videos. So you don't need any particular software for recording your swing. All you need to do is literally like record on your phone, phone, iPhone, iPad, Android phone, whatever it is. You literally just record it under the normal camera mode. you trim the video so it's just your swing, so it's not walking back and forth. Just trim your swing, and then you just upload it into the academy, and then I'll see it. So you don't need any special software. I want you to just upload, to just record it in your phone, because it plays in real speed. And I say this as well in the introduction videos in the online academy. I want the videos in normal, regular speed. I don't want it in slow-mo. I want to see how the swing moves and flows in real time, okay? So no special software required. Demon Dad, how do I stop the two-way miss with the driver? No problems with fairway woods, but hooks and pushes right with driver. So without seeing your swing, if you hit your fairway wood fine off of the ground, I would guess that you're tilting back more in the downswing than you should in a driver. So because you're trying to hit up on it with the driver, because it's teed up, I think the visual of having the ball high off the ground and you trying to hit up on it, it's going to cause you to tilt back, which will lead to hooks and pushes. So I would actually try to tee the ball up lower. Tee the ball up lower. Don't have more than 1/3 of the ball higher than the top line of the driver, and move the ball position back so it's in line with your inside lead heel, and try that first. That should help. The lower tee heights generally will help, because the lower the visual, the less tilt back you're going to have, because the more you tilt back, the lower the tee, you're probably going to top the ball, okay? So try it with the lower tee and see how that goes. And yeah, see how that goes. Matthew Foster, what are your thoughts about length of backswing on a full swing? When comparing high irons, low irons, driver, should they be the same for driver? Is it fine to elongate? Yeah, so generally, even if the intent is the same, the longer the club, the longer the swing's going to be. So you may have the same intent to try to stop the swing at a certain point, but as the club gets longer, as the weight of the club gets further away from you, it will pull you into a longer position. And also, the longer the club, generally, the faster people want to swing. So it generally will make the swing longer. So very, very common for short irons to have a shorter looking swing than a long iron would be, but the intent may stay the same throughout the bag for all full swings. Hey, Graham. Oh, not sure what you're knowing about, but good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Hogan fan, with different people visiting you all day, the neighbors probably think you're a drug dealer. No, definitely not. Yeah, I hope not at the very least. It's pretty organized, pretty spaced out. So no complaints so far. But my neighbors are quite nice, actually, very nice people. Luckily, I got lucky when I bought this house. Actually, both sides of the neighbor is actually really, really nice. Daniel Cano, pineapple on pizza. Definitely not a pineapple on pizza kind of guy. Paul Davies, hi, can you talk about club face control? Have trouble with it. Keeps coming in at 3 degrees close. Path is pretty neutral. I would suggest you practice with long arm finishes if you feel like the face is closing on you quite a bit. So what I mean by that is you can still try to do the same swing. Like, this is probably the least intrusive thing you can do to your swing, but try to control your club face a little bit better. So I should probably move the camera back a bit. So if you're swinging, I would try to finish more long arm. You can see like this. That should slow down the face rotation a bit, okay? I would also suggest, as you can see there, I have a yellow stick down on the ground on my sim there. I would put a stick down just so you have a visual of trying to start the ball more outward. So start it right if you're a righty, start it left if you're a lefty, mixed in with feeling like you have that long arm finish. So the long arm finish will help you promote more body turn through the ball and not have as much face closure through the hitting area. So long arm finish and try to start the ball more right. And that should help you in making sure that the face is not closing so much. And then see if that helps. That would be a good starting point with not too much intrusion into what you normally would do in your swing. So hope that helps, Paul. Nick, best ways to lower dynamic loft even though you hit it straight. If you hit it straight and you're happy with hitting it straight, I'm not going to try to, like, I don't suggest trying to chase things that, like, is there a reason why you want to lower dynamic loft? I mean, if you hit it straight, it sounds like you should be able to play pretty good golf if you hit the ball where you want it to go. So there has to be a reason that nets you a positive in trying to lower dynamic loft rather than just lowering dynamic loft for the sake of lowering your dynamic loft. Andrew, hi from No Golf England. How important is mental training for improving golf scores? Has it ever been a major part of your preparation? It really depends on where you are in your progress. Like a guy that shoots 100 with a swing that is not so mechanically sound, I would say they would net more positive improving their technique. Before I even think about mental training, I think for a lot of average golfers, if you swing it better and you start seeing better results, you would be in a better place mentally as well. So for most players, I would think improving your swing would net you more benefits than just mental training. Now, for if you're trying to take your game to another level, if you hit the ball great but you don't score well, sure, mental training may be something you want to look at. But I think for most amateur players, there are more important things to look at to improve your game first before looking at mental training. Hey, Graham. So wondering if you can talk about creating space in the downswing. So for you, from what I remember, your swing was actually in a really good spot before we left it, and then COVID lockdowns hit again. But in terms of for most people creating space, it really is just making sure that their butt stays back, they maintain inclination, right? So for most players, if they early extend, their hips and pelvis works towards the ball, you can see that decreases the amount of space I have between the body and the ball, right? So if my butt is a certain point here and there's a certain amount of space here, if I keep my butt back and maintain my inclination to the ground, I should still have space. If I start pushing towards the ball, I run out of space, okay? So people who feel like they have no space generally don't maintain their posture very well. If you, assuming you have a decent backswing, if you can keep your butt back and maintain posture, you have tons of space into the downswing. If you do this, you're gonna run out of space. So that's probably the easiest way to think about trying to create space, is making sure that your legs, your butt, and your upper body allows you to actually have space and impact. So hope that answers your question, Graham. Velocity technology. Hey, Larry, snow has finally melted here in Scotland. Managed to get a couple of rounds played. Any tips for 50, 80-yard shots to hit a few fat? So what I would generally do from 50 to 80 yards, I would hit partial swing shots, right? So I'm gonna move the green to 50 yards here. So there should be a video on my YouTube channel that talks about creating a wedge system. So I think if you type in Larry Cheung Golf wedge system into YouTube, that video should come out. But like basically quickly here, what that wedge system is you want to create key reference points in your swing, right? So for me and for most of my clients, I have a key reference point as waist high and stomach high. I say this a lot. I know the swing is going to be bigger than what my reference point is, but the important thing is making sure that your reference points help you create, help you repeat, right? So for 50 yards, I grab my 58-degree wedge. I know if I do my wedge swings, which is no hinge, at setup, I have a straight line from my shoulder down the hands, down the club. If I feel like I maintain the no hinge, I know it's going to hinge, but the feeling is no hinge. And I feel like all I go is go from stomach to stomach, my reference, my idea of stomach to stomach. I'm probably going to be able to hit a 50-yard shot and not chunk it because I'm not hinging so much and because I'm staying 50-50. You chunk it because the leading edge comes into play. The more you go into your left side, it's going to promote more leading edge. The more you hinge, it's also going to promote leading edge. So you need to do things that promote no leading edge. So no hinge, feel like you stay 50-50. And usually making smaller swings will help as well, okay? So for me, I have my 50-yard. I know I just kind of turn stomach to stomach. I should be able to hit this 50 yards. We'll see. I hit that pretty clean, and I hit that slightly too far, 50, 60 yards. That's okay. But that was really, really clean contact. So let me try again. Stomach to stomach, turn, and I'm able to hit that 50 yards, which is pretty good. Didn't really spin much because my face is pretty dirty right now, but that's the idea. So I know for me, if I feel stomach to stomach, feeling no hinge, I'm going to hit it relatively clean almost all the time. And even the misses aren't going to be too bad. So I would suggest you try to do that velocity technology. And then again, just kind of, I think YouTube, Larry Cheung Golf Wedge System, and that should help you out. Mike, hey Larry, what are things to be wary of when lifting arms and swinging? Is there a limit, or how do you know what that limit is? So for you, and I mean for other people as well, if you set up to the ball, like if you set up with no club, your arms kind of dangle, your hands are, let's just say for me, my hands are roughly mid-thigh, right? I see for a lot of people, when they make their backswing, their hands rise very early. So using shaft parallel as an example, if I get to shaft parallel, my hands are still roughly, like waist to thigh high. But for a lot of people who lift early at shaft parallel, their hands are already at like chest high. That's way too much lift. If I let my hands dangle and turn, and this is me not lifting, this is the lift. If I don't lift, my hands just still remain roughly waist, stomach, waist, just under waist high. They've already come to roughly shaft parallel, okay? It shouldn't be here. This is the lift. If you want to isolate that movement, you literally just set up in your normal posture, let your hands dangle and just turn. This is no lift. If you do this is definitely lifting. So it's just trying to make sure you don't lift early in the backswing. Most people who lift excessively in their backswing is lifting early. So I would just suggest you try to do this movement drill to try to help you not lift early in the backswing, and eventually the hands can come up. You're welcome, Mark. Looking forward to seeing those swings. Graham, I'm not sure yet. Email me, Graham. I'm still planning and thinking about the logistics behind the in-person lessons, but email me, Graham, as usual, and then we'll figure it out. SH10. Any suggestions for hitting it off the toe and extremely inside out? I'm a former baseball player, so inside out swing seems natural, just a little too inside out. So usually, again, it's usually as a general statement, people who are too inside out are people who tilt backwards in the downswing. So if you tilt backwards, let me just put the screen back. Let me put the club screen up so you can see the data. So if you are someone who is excessively inside out, you are probably going to be someone who does this in the downswing. So the upper body tilts back in the downswing for you to try to in the downswing, and that would promote a lot of inside out movements. Okay, so how you stop that, and if you look at the left side there, you're going to see that it's 17 degrees inside out. Okay, so what you have to try to do, and again, this is very general, I don't know how you swing, this is just what this is probably the most common cause for too much inside out. You have to feel like your lead shoulder stays down. Okay, it's going to feel like your lead shoulder just goes down and around. It may feel like your lead shoulder never comes up. If your lead shoulder stays down and around like this, it may feel very outside and over the top, but you're not going to be. If you're someone who's excessively inside out, you're not going to be. You're not going to be outside in. You're nowhere close to being outside in. So you just have to feel more lead shoulder staying down and around in the downswing, and you're going to see that the inside out path will decrease dramatically to 2.9 there. So that is what I would look at first for most players. Don't worry where the ball goes. You just got to exaggerate the movement. And then as you feel better about it, then you can try to fine tune the ball flight again. But that would be what I would suggest you try to do first. Jean-Philippe, what do you think could be my biggest issue hitting a 7-iron about 130 ball speed, but only 155 to 158 for a driver? Hard to say. It's hard to say without seeing it. I mean, those speeds are pretty high. You could have a very hot iron head, that gives you a lot of ball speed for what you put into the club. You could be hitting down on it with very little dynamic loft with a 7-iron, which is why you could also get a lot of ball speed for what you potentially put in. There may be sequential leaks in your swing that makes your output much lower with the driver, but it's tough to say without actually seeing your swing. So can't really help you with too much specific stuff. Eric, thoughts on same weight driver 3-wood shaft, both 7X Rogue White? It's something that's still player dependent. I would suggest you get fit if you have questions about that. That's something that's not really up my alley in terms of being my expertise. Most people generally drop a weight class in driver. So let's just say 60-gram driver, 70-gram wood. But again, if you hit them well with both being in the 70-gram range, by all means keep doing it. But it's something that I can't really give you anything of substance with, based on minimal information. But I would suggest if you do have doubts, to go get fit so that you can put those doubts at ease. Daniel, I'm recovering from a finger injury. Are there any basic drills that I could do with just my right arm? I'm right-handed. I feel like I'm going to forget how to play. Honestly, can't answer that question. I just don't know how you move. Don't know what your tendencies are. Don't know how you swing. It's really hard for me to prescribe drills like that to someone that I have no working experience with, especially like you coming back from injury. The focus should be full recovery. It shouldn't be worrying about trying to do things that help you forget how to play. So I would just focus on letting the fingers heal. Don't rush it, and then see how it goes after that. Kevin, hey Larry, have a question upon size of backswing. How much shoulder turn is a decent size of backswing? Seems like my backswing is getting smaller without any hinge. So the backswing length really is if you turn and you can see the back of your back of your right shoulder, the swing's going to be big enough. What you want is, like for most players, as long as you turn fully, keeping your arms in front of your chest, angle between the arm and the club to be roughly 90 degrees, then that's great. You don't want to try to create a long swing by hinging your wrist. That's fake length. That's a very inconsistent, unpredictable length. That's not what we want. If you turn well with big turn, keeping arms in front with minimal hinge, the swing will still be short. But it's the proper amount of length. It's big in other senses where you get a full turn. You're just not trying to fake a look by hinging more. That's the last thing that we want to do. So don't try to make your swing longer by hinging, because that's not how we want to get length for most players. Gaming with Messiah, is there a common reason if you are having a lot of toe contact? Sometimes I even miss the ball. If you're hitting it off the toe, I would guess you're probably standing up out of the ball, out impact too often and too much, and that brings things further away from it. You gotta feel like your chest is actually going more down during the downswing. That should help you hit it less on the toe. It's gonna feel very weird, but if I were to guess, you're hitting it off the toe, you're standing up quite a bit, feel like your chest is actually going down more in the downswing. Thanks, Graham. Yeah, Wedge System has helped quite a bit of people, I would say. So I do recommend people who struggle with your wedges. If you YouTube Larry Cheung Golf Wedge System, it should give you a good overview of how to build a system out for yourself. You're welcome, Velocity Training. Graham, any drills I'm working on? No, I'm just trying to swing more. I'm actually just trying to spend more time to actually hit balls. I feel like my swing's in a pretty decent place right now, so I just gotta rep it out right now. So for me personally, I just feel like keep my backs a little bit more synced up with my turn and my arms, and then I just make sure that when I make my downswing, I'm not dropping my hands down too much, and I'm making sure I'm rotating so that I'm not too excessively inside out. But it'll just come with reps. I can do it pretty good at like 85 miles an hour with a 7-iron, and just gotta make sure I can do the same thing at 95 miles an hour with a 7-iron, and then eventually, like with a driver as well, 120-ish. I gotta be able to maintain structure, but that's gonna come with time and reps, which if everything goes well, I should have more time this summer. So we'll see, but too far to tell right now. Joshua, drills for hips turning too early on backswing, hand path, and club coming inside. If your hips are turning too early in the backswing, I would suggest you try to do the first quarter of your backswing with no hip turn, right? So feel like you get the shaft parallel in the backswing with no hip turn, and then you can start turning your hips after that. It's just trying to do things to delay it. So a good thing for you to do is when you set up, you try to stop at shaft parallel. So what you can do is when you set up, you feel like you go to shaft parallel and stop with no hip turn, and then you can finish and then hit, okay? You don't want to try, if you're someone who turns their hips too much, and I'm assuming you're doing this in the backswing, you just want to create new feels that don't do that, right? So you just got to, again, exaggerate it, set up. So you have no hip turn at setup, go to shaft parallel, stop, and then you turn and then hit. That would be things that you can try to do to delay that hip turn in the backswing, early in the backswing, and then see if that helps. Brandon, hey Larry, great content. Should I focus more on the squat or the down hinge and the downswing when making a change? It's a question I really can't answer because it depends on what you need more of. So it may be something you have to experiment on your own, but one's not a bigger focus than the other. It just depends on what the player needs. Hey Ali, hey, feel and reel is a very interesting thing where for most players feel is so far from real, but through the videos, especially like we're doing online coaching as well, Ali, through the videos, through filming yourself, your feel and reel will become a lot closer because you're going to learn what kind of feel you need to create a certain result. And that's the most important thing for you and for anybody that's trying to change their swing. It doesn't matter if your feel creates a certain result, but that feel for someone else creates something totally different. That's totally cool. Everyone has their own measure of feel and real, and just understanding what you personally need for yourself is going to be the most important thing. Shiloh, okay, Shiloh, gotcha. I'll read this SH10. So, but yeah, so glad that helps. Graham, so the online academy is more for people who want to learn at their own pace, just learn more about cause and effects of what could work well for them in the swing. It's geared more for people who can try to build a swing for themselves under their own time frame for a slightly lower cost. So everything is filmed and ordered in a sequence that I would suggest someone learn it at. So no one's going to be able to skip ahead to the downswing videos without doing the backswing videos, the setup videos. Everything is uploaded and ordered a certain way. You just got to follow that order now. Now, for you specifically, Graham, I don't think you need it. You're already swinging quite good based on what we see. And then the YouTube channel is just more friendly tip videos that could help a lot of people. And I try my best to say at the beginning of the video who this video might be for, but at the end of the day, it's up to the person to determine whether or not it is for them or not. So the online academy just has a little bit more structure involved to it. It's still pretty hands-off in the fact that I'm not going to walk you through every step, but there are video uploads after key checkpoints that I will look at to make sure you're on the right track and provide feedback. If it's not what I want to see, I'm going to reject the submission so that you have to stay where you are and you got to practice more. But for people, that again, it's more move at your own pace. And then the online coaching where it's more personal, where people are sending me videos, depending on how often they practice, it's going to be more of a back and forth dialogue. So just different options for different people with different time constraints and different price points. Hopefully just try to help as many people as I can possibly. Arnold, what are your thoughts on a glove or towel head cover under the armpit drill? Current swing. Currently doing it with my trail armpit to help stay connected through and help shallow the swing. I don't see how putting a glove or anything under your trail armpit will help shallow the golf swing out. I don't think it's necessary. For most players, I actually don't like putting anything under the trail armpit. For most players, not saying for all, because most players can actually benefit from having a little bit more freedom in the backswing. You want to be able to get a free backswing with structure, so that you have a bigger power potential to create speed in a downswing. So I don't usually recommend glove under the trail armpit for most players. You're welcome. You're welcome, Daniel. Jamie, I literally can't stop early extending and humping the goat. I followed your drills on here to address it, but in my filming, I'm still doing it. Is early extension promoted by maybe standing too far from the ball? You may be standing too far from the ball, but you may just have to exaggerate more. You may just have to go slowly to start. Like if you're early extending and you're still early extending, you're probably just not exaggerating enough. So I would suggest doing it very, very slowly. So what you would do is you would literally like just try to hit the ball 5 yards. Hitting the ball, if your focus is solely on fixing the early extension, the ball where the ball goes shouldn't be focused at all. So you take your normal setup, hitting this 5 yards, make your backswing, and then slowly push your butt back, chest down, and turn, and the ball just gets in the way. See if that helps. It should help, because if you go slow enough, you should be able to control your body enough where you can push your ass back and keep your chest down so that you don't early extend. So I would suggest doing that. And yeah, Kevin, recommend forward press and putting. Depends on the player. Really depends on the player. If you're the Kevin Lee who I'm working with for online coaching, you can ask me that as well, and upload the video into the space for me so I can take a look whether or not that's good for you or not. So if you're a different Kevin Lee, then forward pressing is very player dependent. So for some, I may recommend it. For others, I may not recommend it. So tough to say. CQ, recommend training aids like Playmate or G-Box? No, I don't really like training aids. I've never used those training aids myself, so I can't really say. But I'm not usually a training. I'm not a training aid guy at all. I prefer to try to help my clients learn the movement without training aids if possible. Just because a lot of the times when the training aid is off the body, they revert back to doing what they normally do. So for me, I'm not really a training aid guy. Doesn't mean those training aids are bad. It's just something that it's not really I would recommend for me personally. But I'm sure other people recommend them. So Ryan, what could be some of the causes of hitting irons high in the face, above midpoint, hands too far forward, hitting too down on the ball? Yeah, definitely. If you hit too down on the ball, it could definitely put the contact point higher up on the ground. There's no like singular cause that I could pinpoint why you would hit high on the face. So tough to say, really. Tough to say. You're welcome, Joshua. Mike, do I have a favorite golf swing on tour? I really like Rory's swing. I think Rory has a really athletic move at it. That'd be a really I really like that one. But so many good ones. But Rory would be a good guy to look at for great athleticism, great movement through the ball. I really like looking at Rory. Hey, Steven. Yeah, I'm really happy with the recent progress too. Swing looks great so far. We're going to just keep making it better for this coming summer. So really excited for that. It's come a long way since we first started. You're welcome, Jamie. John, thanks for the great content. You're welcome. Can you show us what angles feet should flare at setup? Yeah, so again, this is a very general guideline. So what I would like people to do is, so let's just say like no flaring is square feet, toes at 12 o'clock. So I like the lead foot to point at 10:30 and the trail foot to point at 1 o'clock. I like the lead foot pointing a little bit more out because you're going to rotate more on the follow through side. And if this is for a right-handed golfer, and if you're a lefty, then it's going to be lead foot 1:30, trail foot 11 o'clock. So I like the follow through side to fan it out 1.5 hours, and then the trail side to fan it only an hour or so. So that's a good reference point to try. Now, if you have less flexibility or more flexibility, it could change a bit, but that will be a good reference point for most players to play around with. Jeremy, if you're hitting drivers off the heel, generally I would say you're probably steep and you're holding onto your wrist angles for too long. Typically, people who I see hit on the heel quite a bit with the driver, they're usually hitting holding onto the wrist angles for too long. So I would suggest trying to swing it as fast as you can, trying to downhinge and release your angles as early as you can with the driver, and that should help you not hit it on the heel as much. So try that out, Jeremy. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, upload me the video, Kevin. Let me take a look from both down the line and face on view as usual. Let me take a look. Tough. In one of your videos where you talk about speed, you said to drop the head around, downswing parallel, and swing through, but having a hard time feeling how to make speed. Can you give another feeling? You talked about speed. You said to drop the head around, downswing parallel, and swing through, but having a hard time. Not exactly sure what you are referring to, but if your sole focus is just to try to create speed, I would just try to I would try to feel like you're jumping as hard as you can off the ground to propel the rest of the body. I mean, the most general feeling of a movement that mirrors this is to throw a med ball as hard as you can. So if you're a right-handed golfer, I would try to toss the med ball as hard as you can to your left, using your legs to power the torso and to power the arms and the hands to sling the ball off. And then try to translate the same engagement and sequencing towards the golf swing using the legs to power the body and the arms. That would be probably the easiest movement to translate from a non-golf movement standpoint back into the golf swing. So tossing the med ball as hard as you can to your left would be a good place to start. Graham, any thoughts on the drill where you put a wedge under your back foot and try to keep it flat during the downswing until after in contact? There is a time and place for that. I don't usually use that for most of my clients. I don't think I've asked any of my clients to do that. So I'm not no really real thoughts on it really. Shallow, you can email me at larry@larrycheunggolf.com. I have a few options for online coaching. You can email me there and I can give you more information on how it works. Rob, I'm 56. Is your swing teaching style okay for golfers my age? Yes. I teach clients ranging from kids to golfers in their 70. My teaching is really like the teaching style is just trying to use your body as best as you can to try to merge power and predictability. Now, what I teach you may or may not be different than someone I teach older or younger than you. It really just depends on how you move, and it's hard to know how you move without seeing how you swing. So I wouldn't say my swing teaching style is for any particular age group. I think I think what I try to teach can benefit people of all ages. We just gotta try to personalize and tailor it so that we can do it safely and consistently. Bro versus Bro Gaming. Hey Larry, I had a question about what are some drills to get your iron and driver play consistent, and what are some keys to increase speed. It's real like there's no key drills to get the swing consistent. It's really you gotta make the swing move in a way that makes your play more consistent. If your swing has deficiencies in it, doing drills isn't going to magically make your swing more consistent. You have to identify what the cause of your consistencies are, and then work towards trying to correct those causes. In terms of trying to create speed, is a lot of it is intent. you want to try to swing it as fast as you can and prime your body to create as much force as you can. Similar to like lifting weights in the gym, you want to try to have max intent. If you're trying to do a PR, you want max intent. You want to try to drive your feet through the ground and use your legs to try to power your torso and arms in the golf swing. But the intent has to be there, and then obviously the sequence has to be there as well. So I would try to think of it like that. No, cannot bomb one for you guys, Graham. I have not swung full speed in quite a while, so I will reserve that for hopefully in 2 months when my swing is in order, and after I've warmed up, because this is a recipe for disaster and injury if I try to swing it full speed without having swung full speed in quite a while. So maybe in a couple months, Graham, but just not at this moment. This is pretty good timing. I gotta go in a little bit. Let me just check something quickly here. Give me one sec. Give me one sec. Okay. So I'm just like ordering food so that I can time this for the end of this chat. Give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 sec. Almost there. Just ordering Uber Eats right now, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let's answer a few more questions before I call it a day. Yeah, tough. Yeah, Netball toss would be really, really good. So work on. So if you can throw a great Netball toss, the sequencing should translate into a full swing quite nicely. Yeah, you can fill out the form, Shallow. You can just email me at larry@larrycheunggolf.com. The form on the website goes by my other general email, but I monitor them both, and I always email within a day. So if you don't hear from me within a day, either check your junk mail or try to email me again. Kevin, yeah, maybe in a couple months after I've practiced a little bit more. Mike, any simple tips for first tee jitters, a new group of golfers or tournament? No, not that. There is no simple tips. It really is just reps, right? I mean, people get jitters and nervous because they try to do things they're not comfortable with doing, right? So over time, and really, if you're a new group of golfer, like there should be no expectations. If you're new to the game, you can't expect yourself to hit every shot great. So if you have expectations which are higher than what you have done in the past, and that's what's going to cause the jitters. So just making sure your expectations is even with what you can comfortably do should help. You're welcome, Bro versus Bro Gaming. Hey Neil, yeah, so yeah, 6 p.m. Eastern times is when I try to do these on Thursdays, Neil. So you'll catch me on the back end of this before we wrap up the day. So still working on the swing changes. Body rotation must be working because I'm not losing them hard left lately. Great, that is great. For right-handed golfers, if you miss a hard left, you're probably not rotating as well as you could be in relationship to how your arms and hands are moving. Hard left misses are generally your arms and hands overtaking the body's rotation, which is why the face is turning. So if you are rotating, so if you are missing left less, you are probably rotating better, Neil. So that's really, really happy to read that. Lincoln, good stretches for post-swinging recovery. No, not really. I mean, swinging shouldn't be, if you're practicing and you're swinging and you feel like sore after, it really just could be you're doing too much too soon. Like for someone that practices, let's say once a week, once every 2 weeks, and you suddenly start practicing every day, that may be why you feel like you need to recover, but it really is just trying to pace yourself a little bit more. Now, when it comes to you, Lincoln, message me in the app so I have a better sense of what you're trying to ask. Since we're working with each other online, I can maybe give you a better tailored answer to your specific needs, but I just need a little bit more information. So message me on the app as we've been doing over these last couple of weeks. Arnold, do you think half or three-quarter swings inside the house is detrimental to the full swing? I don't have room in the house to full swing, but with a ball and don't have room outside, and let's go to the range. If you are working on something specific, half swings and three-quarter swings is a great way to start, because all full swings have to go through the half and three-quarter swing range. So if you can do a really good half swing, it can definitely help you make better full swings. Billy M, hey, appreciate the kind words. Appreciate the kind words. Just gotta hopefully be one of the best in the world one day, which I think will happen. It'll just take some time and energy, but it will happen. But really appreciate your kind words. Shallow, my hitting bay is I think it's like 14 feet wide and like 12 feet, 15 feet deep, I want to say. I think it's like roughly 15 by 15 in terms of the space I have. It's half my living room. But you don't need that much space if you don't have that much space. I just wanted this much space because I needed to make sure my videos were done nicely. So as long as you can swing in it, it's totally cool. 10-foot ceilings is pretty much ideal. 9 foot 8 inches sometimes people get away with, but ceiling height is really the biggest room requirement you should be more aware of, because I think most people generally have a big enough space in terms of depth and width. Is just making sure the ceiling is high enough. Osmo Dan, I think if your swing is decent, but you feel like you're bowling too much and the swing gets laid off, that's a much better problem to have. Now, there's really no suggestions on what you're trying to ask, because you thinking you're laid off may actually be good in my eyes. And being bowed at the top with the left wrist, with the lead wrist, is a much better issue to have for most players than being cupped. So hard to say really without seeing the swing and without knowing what the tendencies are. But it's not necessarily a bad thing what you have. So I'll answer Rob's question and then we'll call it a day. So you're welcome, Arnold. You're welcome, Lincoln. So Rob, whenever I try to use less hinge in the backswing wide on my swing, it becomes more stiff and I tend to lose a lot of speed. Any suggestions? So it really depends on what you want, right? Sure, it's going to become more stiff in the short term and you may lose speed in the short term because you rely on your wrist to feel fluidity and speed. But if you're inconsistent with that much hinge, you have to look for ways to create speed differently, right? If you're happy with having that hinge and being narrow and you're happy with the speed, but you're not happy with the consistency, you have to decide what you want more of and then trying to rebuild the other part. Now, if you're hingy and narrow, sure, you may have speed in the short term, but it's not a backswing that will help you create consistency. So in the short term, if it feels stiff, great. If you lose speed, that's what it is. You just have to find ways to create speed with that wider backswing. So there's no instant ways to get that speed back. You just got to build it back through other means. Ray, if you're a scratch golfer and you're happy golfing the way you're golfing, there's no reasons for you to try to change your swing. If you're happy with the way you're doing, especially if you're a scratch golfer, right? So there is no correct swing. If you're playing at a scratch level, you must be pretty good. So it really depends on why you would want to try to relearn your swing. There may be other ways to get better, but it really depends. So hard to say really without having a working relationship. So with that, we'll call it a day. We will do this again next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Any questions, let me know in the comments section when this video, I guess, goes into a rewatchable video. But I'll see you guys next time. Have a good night. I'll see you guys next week. And stay safe and healthy, everyone. And we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.